Welcome all. This is Kishore Karthikeyan, teaching assistant at AJK College of Arts and Science, Coimbatore. Today, in this video content, I will be illuminate about the fundamentals of forensic science. In this, we will first see about what is forensic science. Second, we will see what are the branches of forensic science. Third, we will see a forensic laboratory's hierarchical structure. Fourth, we will look in depth about each branches of forensic science. Okay, so let's start with what is forensic science. It is the branch of science in which implementation of knowledge of basic and applied sciences is carried for the purpose of criminal investigation and administration of law by providing justice. And there are a lot of book references in which definition changes according to the author of the book. So we say that forensic science is the science of law. Of course we can say, but the phrase doesn't explain the whole forensics. We can say it is the science of everything implied in law enforcement. Now moving on to the branches of forensic science. They are forensic biology, forensic serology and DNA typing, forensic physics, forensic chemistry, forensic medicine, forensic toxicology, narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances, which is also called as NDPS, forensic psychology, criminal profiling, forensic dermatographics, questioned documents, forensic ballistics, and digital forensics, or which is also called as cyber forensics. These are the branches of forensic science in which forensic experts like me work all around in order to assist criminal investigation by the law enforcement officials, that is, police officers and CBI experts. We will be looking onto the hierarchical structures of forensic science laboratory. So first, there are 7 central forensic science laboratories in India, and every state is administered with a state-level forensic science labs. These forensic science laboratories come directly under the control of DFS, which is Directorate of Forensic Services, which is an integral part and works under the Ministry of Home Affairs. So at top is the MHA, Ministry of Home Affairs, then the DFS, Directorate of Forensic Services, then the 7 central laboratories and state level laboratories, then mobile lab units of forensic science, then the police station forensic units, whose experts are also called as the CSI, Crime Scene Investigators. Now we will be moving on the next part. We have at the first the laws and the principles of forensic science. Law of individuality, which is the first law, also called as law of uniqueness, which denotes each object is unique. Then the second is law of progressive change, that denotes everything changes according with time. The third law is the law of comparison, which denotes that only like samples can be compared within each other, which is, with an example can say as, only hair sample can be compared with another hair sample of the victim or the suspect. So we say the comparison law denotes only like samples can be compared with each other. Law of analysis. There can be no better analysis than the sample analyzed. Principle of mutual exchange, which is also known as Locard's principle of mutual exchange. This principle denotes every contact leaves traces on the subject. So we can say every contact of a criminal may leave some changes or some traces of evidences in the crime scene. And the sixth, the law of probability, which says that every scenes or every chances of occurring can be denoted in the probability of law, okay, and or in the probability theorem. The seventh law is the law of circumstantial facts, which we also famously say in forensic science, facts do not lie, which means a fact is a fact which cannot be changed, and a fact is acceptable in the court of law as an evidence. Now, taking in depth into the each branches of forensic science. First and foremost, in the crime scene investigation, we see the court accepts the IO, which is the investigating officer, only to investigate the crime scene. But crime scene will have various officers to respond to it, which can be denoted as the first responder is the official or the police official or a forensic official who responds a crime scene at the first after the information passed on to the police station. Then the first responder has many responsibilities to be carried out. The first responder should protect the crime scene at the first so that no out people can interrupt the crime scene. Now, taking in depth into the each branches of forensic science. First and foremost, we have the crime scene investigation, which has a lot of steps. First, the court accepts the IO, the investigating officer, as the approved authority to investigate a crime scene and the further investigation. Then the crime scene also has various officials. The first comes the first responder, who the official which responds to the crime scene at first after the information passed on to the police station. So there are duties of the first responder, which is protecting the crime scene, then collecting and identifying evidences in first hand without disturbing any of the crime scene evidences or crime scene objects, so that most of the potential evidences can be searched and collected by the forensic units and forensic team. Then the investigation officer has to visit the crime scene in first and analyze the facts in the crime scene and inform the forensic unit to collect all the evidences and preserve the evidences and send it to analysis in forensic science laboratories. Then we have forensic biology, in which we analyze forensic samples of bodily fluids, which includes body fluids like saliva, serum, bodily fluids, interorganal fluids, semen, and etc. And we have forensic serology and DNA typing, which is forensic serology denoted to analysis of blood, and DNA typing indicates the DNA extraction and further analysis of DNA samples from blood. So, the blood is considered as the most crucial evidence in a crime scene. In a crime scene, we have the blood, and if the blood is identifiable with a naked eye, we can collect it with various methods like swabbing or scraping. Or if it is being erased from the crime scene, we can find lots of traces of blood in the crime scene so that we can identify it with the chemicals pouring onto the blood samples, which namely luminol, which can be used for the purpose of identifying erased blood sample traces in the crime scene. Then we have forensic physics, in which study of physical objects or physical samples like glass, hit and run cases, which includes paints of vehicles and lots of fabric of the victim, which will be struck onto the front or back of the vehicle, can be identified and analyzed with the help of physical samples and physical instruments. Forensic chemistry is a branch in which all the chemical samples, including suicidal chemicals like palt oil, will be analyzed for the help of administration in investigation. Whether the investigation officer can, in forensic chemistry, we have the analysis of forensic chemical samples or evidence of chemical samples like sulfate and palt oil samples used in suicidal cases. The first investigating officer can inform the forensic unit to perform chemical analysis on the chemical samples which will be passed on to the chemical division of forensic laboratories. Then we have forensic medicine and toxicology. In forensic medicine, we will be studying about anatomical structure of the body, and we also study about the post-mortem artifacts and how to perform an autopsy or the post-mortem. We have the in-depth review of a autopsy report or the post-mortem report of a body which came to analysis. Then we have to perform, as a forensic expert, we have to perform forensic autopsy in which I, V and Y incisions will be performed at first, and the body will be analyzed, internal organs will be analyzed, and samples of internal organs will be collected in a glass jar with a preservative and sent to respective divisions like bodily fluids will be sent to forensic biology division or serology division, and other samples will be sent to forensic physics and other physical and divisions. In forensic medicine and toxicology, we perform forensic analysis of body or the corpus delicti, which is the dead body of crime. So, in forensic medicine, we can perform autopsy and postmortem and prepare a report which is called autopsy report or the postmortem report of the body, and which we have to submit in the court of law. In autopsy report, we have to mention artifacts of the body which we found while we analyze, like internal organs injury, external injury, internal poison and collection of chemicals. Then all of these will be reported through reports. In forensic medicine, we perform autopsy with the help of a forensic medicine practitioner who is an expert in autopsy. Forensic autopsy can be carried out with the start of incision, which is specialized with I incision or Y incision or U incision. These incisions will be carried in order to open the body and analyze the internal organs. We have to analyze each internal organs, including axial and appendicular organs, and send the preservative samples of the internal organs and the fingerprints to forensic laboratory units. Then we have forensic toxicology, in which study of poisons will be done. In toxicology, we will have mostly the snake venom as the case of bite. We have the forensic toxicology for the purpose of analysis of venomous substances and chemical substances which are poisonous to human or any living body. Then in NDPS, which is the narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances, we have to analyze most of the drugs which are available in the market and are also banned by the government. For example, cannabis sativa is illegal to use inside the territory of India, but cannabis sativa is used mostly illegally by the people or the public in an illegally way, which they purchase from the black markets, which is illegal and subjected to punishment in court of law. So we as a forensic expert have to analyze these NDPS substances and inform the court of law about the substance's characters, whether the evidence collected from a suspect is illegally banned substance or not. These NDPS drugs or substances classified into hallucinogens, irritants and depressants. In hallucinogens, the drugs affects the neural part of the body. The consumer will consume the substance and will experience an explicit amount of hallucination, in which the suspect will be identified with the side effects. Then in irritants, we have these substances which irritates the body, or which also known as antidepressants, which bring depressant people, and also these substances are administered for psychological evaluation of patients, who are affected with psychological effects. Then we have these depressants which will make all the body parts or the mostly used body parts in depressive stage. These depressants will make the body to dysfunction or move in a state in which the consciousness is partially or fully lost. These substances are mostly used in medical cases or medical hospitals. Then we have forensic psychology, in which a psychological analysis of criminal and also suspect can be done. This forensic psychology division has in-depth division which is called as criminal profiling, in which a criminal profiling will be made about the criminal of a crime. How it can be made? A criminal profiling is the procedure to make or determine criminal's motive and behavior so that what can be his nature and appearance to be predicted. These things will be analyzed accordingly with the crime or the modus operandi. Modus operandi, which means the mode of operation of crime, which is a crucial part of criminal profiling. Then we have forensic dermatoglyphics, in which study of fingerprints is done. Fingerprints are classified into three types: arches, loops, and whorls. Arches are into two types, which is flat arches or tented arches. Whorls and loops will have a delta in their fingerprints. These arches will never have deltas. Arches, loops, and whorls will be classified accordingly so that the crime or the crime scene will contain some of the fingerprints of a criminal, which can be extracted and saved and further analyzed with the suspect. Then in questioned documents, we have to analyze the documents which are all in question or which are all in a doubt. So in questioned document, we have to analyze suicidal notes, handwriting of a criminal or of a victim. Then we will be having a situation in which a suicide note will be written, but the actual crime might have been a murder and the suspect or the criminal have been written the suicide note. And we have to analyze the handwriting of the victim and the suicide note, and we have to report to the court of law or the IO, investigating officer. Then in the last, we have forensic ballistics and digital forensic science. In forensic ballistics, we study about firearms and arsenal substances, which consist of study of guns, bullets, and arsenal cases in which fire is included, like bombs, and homicidal cases like cylinder burn. These cases will consist of burns of cylinder, which is commonly used LPG cylinders, and we have to analyze whether the LPGs might have been burnt accidentally or homicidally. So we can report to the IO and the investigation will be further proceeded. Then in firearms and arsenal cases, bombs or the granites will be used and the sulfur parts of the bombs will be analyzed to classify which type of bomb is used. For most famously, we can say terrorist attacks will be carried out with specific bombs that these terrorist gangs will use these type of bombs only. We can classify and find out who are the terrorist groups which are acting on the country. Then we have the firearm analysis, in which we have three types: internal ballistics, and external ballistics. In these internal ballistics, we find and analyze and study the mechanism of working of a gun or a machine gun. A gun can be a pistol, can be a semi-automatic gun, or can be a fully automated machine gun, and can also be a sniping gun, in which the bullet ranges varies, and we can analyze the bullet and say which type of gun have been deployed in the crime. Then in external ballistics, we study the bullet and its traveling mechanism. So we study about the projectile and motion of the bullet and also composition of the bullet. Then in terminal ballistics, we have to study the impact of the bullet over the victim or the target. The target can be a person or can be an object, and we have to study the terminal effect or the effect caused by the bullet over the target. Then in digital forensics, we have to recover data regarding a crime in digital devices like computers, mobile phones, smartwatches, and smart devices which have been used and utilized in the market and which are also commonly available in the crime scene. So we have these procedures of searching a crime scene, collecting the evidences, preserving the evidence, sent for analysis to the laboratories, then documenting the crime scene analysis and evidential analysis and reporting to the court of law. Thank you.